to summarize, I thank you for being a wonderful audience. Early writings can provide new insights, can provide us with a eureka, a sense that, maybe this condition that was described 200 years ago is actually heritable, maybe familial, and lead us on a research track using some of the wonderful techniques today. Give us inspiration. Historical perspectives are wonderful too, by analyzing chronologies, development of dentistry, development of anesthesia, and development of bacterial-based knowledge in dental caries. Maybe things might have been different or should be different. Maybe now that we've pretty much largely in civilized countries gotten dental caries under control. Maybe there needs to be some movement of bringing dentistry and medicine closer together. It would benefit medicine because they know very little about dentistry, and it benefit dentistry because there's so much that we can do within the mainstream. Keys to forgotten knowledge. I used the Kingsley's situation as a wonderful key leading to discovery and recognition. And to me, the final element is just the basic joy and inspiration from the book as a tangible record of human progress. It's wonderful. We have more and more pressure to reduce libraries to paperless electronic conveyances. And there's great meaning to holding a book, to holding a rare old book. I doubt that many of you students have held many rare books yourself or leafed the pages. It's a wonderful feeling, especially if you see marginal footnotes. There's a lot to be learned. It's not simply an immeasurable feeling. So I'd like you all, the students especially, to get a sense of the joy and inspiration and knowledge that old books can provide, and to carry on and support this great library that does value great works on paper. Thank you for giving me the opportunity of sharing my enthusiasm. Happy to entertain any questions, easy questions that you may want to ask. Or if you want to just stand up and make an immediate pledge of your and donation, we will accept that in lieu of a question. I'm told there are lots of refreshments for these people, and that some of them may have come for the refreshments and not my talk.
Sheldon.
So, a question. Yes.
Who designed your book plate?
Thank you for asking that question. There's a great story behind it. I have lots of stories, with a glass or two of wine and a lot of time. Well, the New York Times, which is my favorite paper, my favorite reading thing in newsprint, featured in the letters section about 20 years ago a discourse by a professor, a dear friend of mine, who was questioning an article about the recovery of a stolen Rembrandt at the Rijksmuseum, Rembrandt drawing. And he said it's not actually by Rembrandt, it's by a student of Rembrandt. And he went on with his scholarly reasons. The Times has this large enclave of artists, struggling artists, that they say, will you do an illustration regarding this letter? And so the illustration in this bookplate was actually published in 1 million issues of the New York Times, 1 million copies of the New York Times 20 some odd years ago. I saw it and I said, that's me. That's me. I've got the same magnifying glass and I do the same kind of stuff. I want that. So I wrote a letter to the New York Times, not for publication, said I would like to buy that drawing, which presumably is in your collection. And they said their policy is to refer such inquiries to the artist, and the artist is required, if they want to sell it for the same price the New York Times paid. Well, I was ready to pay a handsome price. I collect art. So the artist was in Connecticut. I forget his exact name, but I contacted him. This is before the internet. And he wrote back, yes, I'm willing to sell it. It's on scratchboard, and it's the same size as it was published. And the price is the same as I sold it to the New York Times for, $40. So I have a one-of-a-kind bookplate that was done by an artist who's gone on to great things. And it has our collector's mark sort of wedded into the ex libris. And that's the way it came about. That's my bookplate.
Well, I don't know whether you're aware of the Trent collection over at Duke has a bookplate collection for medical practitioners. And the last time I looked, they didn't have one of yours.
Well, I'll be happy to send one to them. I had this. This was printed in a very solid artistic way. This is not just copied. So I have plates for it. And I had several thousand printed 20 years ago. I thought I was going to be a super great book club. I haven't used many, so I'm happy to give them. You get my email and send me that information. Yes, Frank.
You must have been referring to the McGraw practice that left the library there. Did any of these pieces turn out to be really rare? Or
well, that was 1968. In 1968, you could buy a copy of Edward Angle's 7th edition for $50. You can't get one for under $1,000 now. So, if you judge rarity by price, yes, all these things have increased in price. But at the time, Angle studied with Dewey, who studied with Margolis. There was always linkage, and they weren't rare at the time, but yeah, now they're sort of rare, but not like the stuff that HSL got. Thank you.
I know everyone has something they want to say to you in private, probably. We're holding a glass of wine in there. More stories that they want to hear. But I know that everyone in this room knows, because you're here tonight, that there's so much joy that can be gotten from handling the historical works, such as those that you've now placed in our collection, and the inspiration that can be gained from it. So thank you once again for your generosity. And Dr. Dreesen, do you want to say anything on behalf of the Bullitt Club, or faculty sponsor for this?
I'm the faculty advisor for the Bullitt History of Medicine Club, which is by far the funnest thing that I do in my workday of life as a general surgeon. This is just tremendous collection. I had the privilege of really walking around with Ethel Bullitt, who told me that your connection came. And I was all excited about it, but I'm much more excited by your tremendous donation. And the notion that touching the palpable nature of this, I think, is just makes it a fantastic gift in this era of electronic everything. Being able to physically touch stuff is really awesome.
Thank you so much. The two things I'd like to mention following that up. One is there's an inventory of the gift on that table, which I invite you all to take, and it might give you a sort of a guide to the collection should you want to come and look at any of these books. The second is regarding Ethel Bullitt. I contacted her after I was told that she came here, and I did remember her. I didn't have to go to the records. She and her sister, they were wonderful kids. And she wrote me back, she emailed me back, oh, it's so great to get your email. And she has 2 kids of her own, and she's a child psychiatrist now. And the thing that really touched me was she said, every time I went to your office, I was treated so personally she said, and you were always sincerely asking what I was doing and engaged me at my level and in a very friendly way. That I remember that, and I'm using that in my practice as well. You know, she was using that model. That was very touching. And then she on the next paragraph said, I have these two kids with a lot of orthodontic problems. And she began describing the first diagnosis she got, and I had to email her back to hold off her anxiety, say, don't worry so much, and if you need a second opinion, you got a free one with me. So I'm really connected to the Bullitt Club now.
But you're modeling the doctor-patient relationship too.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir, Frank.
I'm just curious now, you've done Dutch paintings and drawings.
Yes.
And now that we're books, what are you going to do in the next 10 years?
Well, you know, Frank, these two areas are fields that support people who have lifetime commitments to them. You know, I am a tourist in these fields. I'm an amateur. But I'm very proud to say, somewhat immodestly among friends, that I've made some progress that they are respecting and using as a part-timer. So I think I'm going to continue in these two fields. You know, the fact that I've given the best of our book collection to Ackland, or a bit of our art collection or rather the best of our book collection to HSL and the best of some of our art collection to the Ackland, doesn't mean that I'm quitting. The R word, retirement, is not in my vocabulary. So there are lots of fun things out there that I'm very interested and very involved in doing. So, you know, and there are other things too, you know, but I don't have to talk about it. Life is good. Life is good. Yeah.
So we encourage you all to stay and enjoy conversing with Sheldon and with one another, and enjoy our food and drink that we have just outside the door. Sign our guest book, which is just to the left of the door, and as Sheldon said, there's a booklet that has the bibliography of this collection that you're welcome to pick up. And that's it. Thanks again.